So at this time, I'm going to make a quick plug for one of my favorite companies that I've worked with in the past, and that's Core Essentials. Again, they are sponsoring this video. However, I have no problem recommending them to any of you for the simple fact that their products actually work and they hold up pretty damn well. I've been extremely happy with them. I've been using their belts now for approximately 9 years. I stand by them. I use them every day, whether it's at work, whether it's outside of work, only because I know they're going to hold and support my gun, and I'm going to use it every single day. So as you guys can see in this video, you can see that there's the multi-cams that they have available now. Last time it was their buffalo hides. Either way, any of their choices are excellent. So check them out. All right, everybody. So today we're going to take a little look at the MC9 LS. Again, this video is presented by me to you, not from any other company but myself. Now, with that said, we take a look at this Canik. And first off, aesthetically, it is a very pleasing looking gun. It is very nicely done. It does remind me a lot of my old TP9 SF Elite that I had many years ago, only in a much smaller, slimmer package. Now, keep in mind, there are some really good features about this gun that I think are hard to pass up on. Although a lot of people might be saying that the polymer market is saturated, I do believe that with these new slimline models that are coming out more and more, I think it's breathing a little bit more fresh air into the actual polymer market. Now, in this case, this gun is considered a slim gun. And to be honest with you, it is not the slimmest, but it's also not the thickest. I would say it's probably on par with a 365, whether it's a macro or a fuse. It is about the same thickness, if not almost identical to those guns. Again, you can see this is the long slide. I've seen a lot of videos that just did the one with the shorter slide, but I wanted the longer slide just because that suits my needs more than the other one. It is also optic capable, which is nice. So if you want to attach an optic to this gun, you can. And again, that's giving it a little bit, again, more of a modern feel to this type of gun. The sights, I would say that's kind of a knock against this gun. You know, they are metal sights. However, I do like the blacked out rear, but unfortunately the front is just a white dot. There is no high vis there. There's no fiber optic. So for me, that's kind of a gig against the gun just because I would prefer something a little bit high vis. It doesn't necessarily have to even be tritium, just something that shows up a little bit better. I mean, it is a pretty large dot. So maybe it will show up better for most people, but for me, I would prefer something a little bit brighter, a little bit more color in there. Again, the quality of craftsmanship of this gun has been excellent from what I see right out of the box. There are no real machining marks on the interior of this gun. The guide rod is a very sturdy guide rod, and the spring is very well sprung. Let's put it that way. The barrel looks really nice, has a high polished feed ramp on the barrel. So everything looks pretty top notch. Now, of course, time will tell if long term this thing can hold up and really own kind of part of that market. One of the other things that I noticed about this gun that not a lot of people really talked about is everything is very streamlined. So the takedown levers, including the slide stop / slide release, even the mag release is pretty streamlined to the sides of the gun. As a matter of fact, the only thing that sticks out on this gun is just the mag release. When you take a look at the side profile from top to bottom, you'll notice that everything is very, very, very close to the actual body of the firearm. So that is going to aid in concealment. And obviously, they are all functional. Everything is ambidextrous on it. So that's a plus. And honestly, they are very well within reach, but it doesn't seem like you're going to have a problem when you're holding it down so that the slide won't lock back. I will see when I shoot it if that's the case. The other thing I noticed about this gun is the texturing. A lot of people were talking about the texturing. The texturing was really good. I would say it's decent. I would say it's definitely better than a Glock 48. I would say it's similar to what the Shield has on it. I would say it's even maybe a little bit more aggressive, as I actually have my Shield right here, and I'm actually touching it as I touch this one. But I would say they're pretty darn close to each other. I would not say one is better than the other, or I wouldn't say one is more aggressive than the other. They're pretty similar in both texturing. The original 365 fuse I have is also fairly similar in texturing, at least the feel of it. Maybe not the design, but definitely the feel. So I would say all three of those guns actually feel pretty damn good. The one thing that I took note of when I was watching a lot of the reviews on this gun, quote unquote reviews, a lot of people are talking about the trigger. Now, I will tell you that this gun is really good. It looks really good, feels really nice in the hand. I would say that all the features seem to be really well made. In other words, this was a pretty well designed and engineered firearm. The thing that's kind of questionable to me is the trigger. Now, don't get me wrong, the trigger is very nice. The trigger is extremely smooth on its initial take up. There doesn't seem to be really any metal contact on anything inside the frame of the gun. So it is a very smooth take up. There's no doubt about it. However, it is an extremely long take up, comparatively speaking to the other firearms that I own that are within this classification of being a slimline pistol. To kind of give it to you so that you can see it, this is the trigger pull. So it goes all the way to the back of the gun. And I'm not sure why that is. It could be because it's extremely smooth on the take up. So they want to give you a little bit more opportunity to think before that trigger actually goes all the way. But I would say that it would be nice if the trigger was at its wall right here and then just slightly more. But you can see that doesn't break there. It does not break until you go all the way back. The reset is pretty good. It's nothing to complain about. It's an excellent reset. But I would say that would be the only negative side of the gun. And even in that case, it's not really a negative because the trigger is very smooth. It's a very definable wall at the end and a very short reset. The problem for me is that it's just very long, and I'm not sure why that is. You can leave some comments down below and let me know. Now, the other thing I'll tell you is that when I first got this gun, I was a little bit like, it's okay. It's nothing great. But then when I started to do some things to it, for example, I took the initial backstrap this came with and I changed it out for the small. And the reason why was when I had the medium backstrap on her, even though I have pretty large hands, I was just not feeling like this gun was wrapping into my hand the way I wanted it to. It just felt a little bit too blocky, which was kind of interesting because a lot of people said the ergonomics were just amazing. And I didn't necessarily see that initially. Now, when I changed it to the small backstrap, I have to tell you, it changed this gun night and day. And what I mean by that is this is one of the most user-friendly guns that I've ever owned. And when I say that, what I mean is as soon as I bring this up to my eye level, it is spot on. I mean, it is absolutely spot on every time I bring it up. And you can't always say that. Some guns you get, you may actually have to adjust the way you're holding it, the way you're putting it up to your eye. And in this case, I did not find that with this gun. As a matter of fact, this is probably one of the most natural pointing guns that I've owned in quite a while. And that says a lot because, again, it tells me that the way they engineered this, they engineered it a way where people could feel very natural with the gun, that the gun was almost like a part of your hand. And that's fantastic. I have no complaints about that. I think overall, everything seems to be working functionally. The mag release is a very positive mag release, so that's very good, and I like that. Again, the texturing is already all the way extended down to the magazine, so that's kind of nice too, right? So you're going to have a nice firm, bottom... You're going to have a nice base plate on your magazine. Let's put it that way. I mean, does it really mean anything? Probably not, because even with my large hands, I'm still not really, holding the bottom of that mag plate or base plate. I think overall, looking at the gun, it is a pretty solid offering and at a pretty good price. Now, of course, if you wanted to go and find something a little bit cheaper, maybe you could find yourself a Glock 48. And when I compare these guns all together, which I will do at a future date, I will tell you that this Canik, in my opinion, is a very nice offering and probably worth your money. And what's even more important is it's not going to cost you $1,000. This will cost you maybe $4.5. So you got to decide if that works for you. One of the other things I would say is that I have really held this gun for a couple of days now, and I've really compared it against some of the other slim lines that I have, but I've also compared it to other guns that I own as well, especially the Glock clones. Like, for example, my Bull Armory. I will tell you, this is a little thinner than a regular Glock. It's a little bit more ergonomic, probably on par with, like, let's say, a Shadow Systems. And I will tell you that it feels pretty thin in my hand. And I didn't really think about it until I grabbed the Canik. And then I realized, boy, that Canik is just slightly thinner. And I know some people might say, well, it's splitting hairs. One might be 1.1 inches versus 1.08 inches. And you might be right on that. On paper, it may not look significant. But in real world application, I will tell you that small difference can actually make a huge difference in regards to how that gun feels in your hand. I mean, overall, it's a good offering. I would like to have seen maybe better sights put on this gun. I'm sure they probably offer that somewhere at a higher rate. But I do think this is going to really do well. And I think people who already own it probably will say the same. I think for me, my first impression of this gun is that this gun is pretty awesome. Now, are there some things that were kind of like maybe misleading a little bit? I do think the trigger is good. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's a little bit long, but I do think it's very responsive and it feels very good on the reset. Do I think the texturing is better than any other options out there? I do not. I think it's on par with the Smith & Wesson Shield. I think the fit and finish of this thing is excellent. There's a little side-by-side play with the slide and the frame, but nothing that would warrant any significant concern on my end. I think overall it's a good offering. And I think overall, if you're looking for kind of like the slimline carry gun, that offers a lot of features at a reduced price from, let's say, the Smith or even the original Glock 48s. I mean, those were running $500-600 at one point. But even like a fuse or a macro, those are pretty high priced items. I really do think that the Canik is offering something that might be usable for all of those people who want something in this genre of firearms. Again, I'm really a big fan of the slimlines. I think their offerings are just too good to pass up. Like I said, this is 17 rounds in a very small slimline package. That says a lot because you're going to have the capacity that a double stack gun can give you in a skinnier package, which I think makes it easier for carry. So leave some comments down below. Again, we're going to follow up with a shooting video and kind of give you my final impressions of this gun. And then we'll do a comparison at some other point to kind of really decide if which gun is actually worthwhile for you. And again, it's going to be based on opinion, but it's going to be pretty interesting because I think right now we are in a very good time when it comes to slimline guns. So leave some comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and I appreciate you watching. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.